Welcome to everybody out there in Ventrac land. We are officially live. So welcome to our Q&A for the day. This is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. We don't have any new products to reveal. This is just going to hang out and talk to us. And we got a couple people monitoring the live chat. We're going to get into questions of all sorts of varieties. I've previewed a few of them. We're also going to take some live questions as we go. But we got a couple other things to show, some gear things to talk about. And again, thanks for being here. So for the agenda for today, I'm going to just run down through this and show you guys what we're going to get into. First thing we're going to do is talk about just questions that you guys have all submitted from a few different categories. And we're going to intermix those with a few different other things that we're doing on this program. And that includes especially some help from our TSMs. So we've got, that stands for Territory Sales Managers. We've got 4 of them in the studio. There are previous conversations that I've just had with them, and we're going to intermix those into this live outlook. So you'll see some conversations with them about Ventrac, a couple other random questions, and that should be interesting too. We've got Andrew in customer service, somewhere out there in the universe, upstairs, I believe, watching the questions as we go, and so he's going to feed those to me. Just a heads up too, it could be a little awkward. I'm going to be using my phone to read some of the questions as they come in live, so you just have to ignore me if I'm staring at my phone. I'll try to minimize that, but that's going to happen. So I'll be getting those from him and from Kim. And then we'll stitch that all together with the other stuff that's happening, and I'll answer questions that I have already. So we'll get right into it. We're not going to waste any time. We'll get to the questions. The first thing I want to do, though, in the chat is to have everyone who's on now and anybody who jumps on, the first thing you need to do is let us know, do you have a Ventrac? And if you do, what model of the tractor is it? And what attachments do you have? That'll get us started. All right? Next, we're going to jump straight into the questions. So the first thing, are you the only marketing person in Ventrac? No, absolutely not. I think there's a few people out there who assume that I know they know Mark exists because we've seen him on camera and behind the camera a little bit. But I think there's a few people that might assume it's basically he and I'm like putting the videos all together, adding all of the stuff, After Effects and graphics and all. That is absolutely not me. So that is all the experts in the marketing department. I'm basically in front of the screen. So I do the information, I work on some engineering stuff, but we have a team of 10 to 12 at any given time, people working on pretty much every project that we do. So yeah, if you like what we do, be sure to give everybody else a thumbs up too, because it's a team effort. The next thing we're going to do, we kind of grouped a couple of these. So we're going to do some questions about product development specifically, because we got a few of those that are kind of in that same vein. So question number 2. Not that I'm a fan of electric, however, is there an all-electric unit being designed? I think you probably know I can't tell you the answer to the second half of that question. The first thing, though, you probably should be a fan of electric. Electric is pretty fantastic for a lot of reasons. A lot of power, a lot of improvement in operator comfort and things like that. So the future of electric, if and when that happens, could be pretty sweet. Is there an electric unit being designed? Obviously, we haven't done nothing there, but we can't really talk about timelines and when things might happen. We are a pretty challenging platform for that because most of the jobs that we do are very power intensive. And as you might imagine, electric that's one downside to electric over petroleum-based power solutions. You can't just recharge quickly, and discharge happens really quickly when you're using high demand, high horsepower attachments. So we do have some challenges there, but we're working through that. We're evaluating constantly what those options are that are out there in the market and what is changing with battery capacity, just battery chemistry, things like that. And we assure you that when the time is right, you'll see some things there. But again, no timelines confirmed. The next question, could Ventrac consider making the material collection system compatible with more accessories and the cab and fanopy? Yes, I said fanopy. I think everyone just wants me to say fanopy. So it's not officially called that, but there you go. I said it. So first of all, it is compatible with the canopy. And we have, Mark, give me a thumbs up if the tractor's in shot right now. We have a canopy here on this tractor. It does require some different bracketry on the ROP system to run the vac system on the canopy or together with the canopy, but it can be done. So that is, just check that off the box. You can do that. And if you need any help with that, you can give us a call. We can sort you through what materials you need to make that work. The second thing, with the cab, there's really no way to make it compatible with the cab because, as you know, the VAC system attaches to the ROPS with some anchor mounts on the top, and the back glass on the cab actually extends past the ROPS, so there's no way to go through the glass with the collection system. So unfortunately, that one's a no-go. Next question, is there anything planned to bring AC to the cab market? We would love to. This is one that we've tackled in a lot of different directions, trying to figure it out. But there's a couple things that make, add some wrinkles to that. The first is horsepower available. AC is very power intensive. And as everyone knows, we want more power, not less. So that's a pretty big deal. Also, our current cab is pretty heavy. It's really suitable for winter applications because it just adds more traction to the unit. But it's not really ideal for working off season because we demand a lot from this tractor in terms of driving on challenging terrain, and the cab inhibits that in some ways. So there's really no way to make that cab lighter and more acceptable for running in like hot summer conditions when you're on hillsides and things like that. So it's really pretty well out of the question for this unit. It would require a unit with maybe a little bit different platform, maybe some size changes, engine horsepower changes, things like that, which isn't totally out of the question, but we're not here to talk about that today. So we're going to have to wait probably until another platform to see any AC with any cab type of structure on what you would think is a Ventrac as you know it today. Next, I bought one of these tractors for our Parks and Recreation department. I would like my staff to do some form of training and show they have aptitude with the principles of the machine. Is there any kind of checklist or training video that you would recommend? That is a fantastic question. We get this pretty frequently in a lot of different forms. Yes, there are a few resources. So first of all, we have we have a very good operator's manual for every attachment and every power unit. And I know it's tough to get everybody to read everything. It's a big ask, especially operators that are very busy, have a lot of things to do in their day. But that's a great place to start just to get the baseline of everything that you need to know, even if you can just skim the important parts. But beyond that, we do a series. They're a little bit, they're aging a little bit, but they're all still very relevant, called Simple Starts. And if you go to YouTube and just search Ventrac Simple Start and then plug in the tractor or the attachment that you're interested in, it'll be a 3 to 5 minute video usually where it walks you through some of the basic operation of how to get rolling on that attachment. But I do want to say that I'm not sure who sent this question in, but thank you for that. We actually had a team discussion prior to this. It's inspired us a little bit. We're going to do an updated version of this for the power unit starting especially. Just kind of a take on if I'm a new operator, or maybe if I've never driven a tractor at all. It's maybe nerve-wracking to get on the seat of a new machine that I have no idea how to operate. So I'm going to try and put myself into that perspective, and we'll do a video start to finish of, I just walked up to this machine. I don't know anything about what I'm doing. What are the very most critical things to get started and get rolling and start doing work? So look for that in the future. I can't promise when that's going to happen, but we got a lot of motivation to do that quickly to get that out to you. So look for that in the future. We're going to put some efforts toward that. So thanks for that question. Okay, the next thing in the chat that I want to hear from you guys, where are you joining us from? That's always a fun question to see. Maybe my team will ping me with a few things, a few interesting locations. It's always cool to see where around the world everybody is watching us from. So tell us the state or country if you're international. Give us any information that's relevant, and we'll check it out. And then lastly, before we get into the first conversation with one of our TSMs, you'll see when we get into the TSM bits here, this is a little bit of a fashion show, I'm going to call it. We dressed them all up in Ventrac apparel, and we made them. I think we made them model for us. So I am also doing that to a lesser degree. I have one piece on, and that is the Navy Traveler Vest. You can see it here, 360. Very comfortable. It's a little warm right now, so I'm actually going to take it off after this segment. But it's great for office environments or those transitional seasons. It's a new item for us, and it is available on pre-order. It's 20% off the original price for this weekend only. We'll get to the end. We'll recap all the deals on the different apparel items and the new things that we're talking about. You can see the hats here. We've got some other things that the TSMs are going to showcase. But that's what I'm wearing. That's what you'll find on the website along with some other options. And I think that does it for this. Let's go into the first TSM conversation with Craig Hatt.
So this is the portion of our Q&A where we talk about the Ventrac Gear. I have with me 4 of our generous volunteers from our territory sales management team, Craig, Andy, Bill, and Aaron. And we're going to introduce them later. They are all modeling. Are you modeling? They're all modeling some version of Ventrac Gear. And they've got different stuff on that's all pre-order. We'll talk about what they're wearing and where you can get it here in a second. But they've been kind enough to join us today. We're going to ask them a few questions, get them up here, and get to know them a little bit. So without further ado, start with you, Craig. Hi, Craig. Welcome. You're guest number 1 on the Ventrac Fashion Experience.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So Craig is from our Northeast region, and all of our territory sales managers, basically what their job is they have a portion of the country or the world, depending where they're located, where they manage all of our distribution for Ventrac. So that is a lot of different jobs. It's kind of working back and forth with the factory to get product to dealers, to work with demos, customers, essentially kind of being that glue that connects the factory to the user base of Ventrac out in the world, right?
Yep.
Anything else you do?
We give away hats and donuts.
Hats and donuts. So
There you go.
look them up. Okay. So Craig, he covers New York, Pennsylvania, and then north from there, parts of New York and Pennsylvania, and goes all the way up to Maine. He is our northernmost territory rep in the States. We obviously have Canada and some parts of Europe that go further. Shout out Darren and Henrik. But you've been with Ventrac for 2 years. You live with your wife and 2 children in PA. Prior to joining Ventrac, it says here you're service manager and store manager at 2 different top 5 Ventrac dealers. And before getting into sales, Craig was a golf course superintendent. Where at?
Pennsylvania, Central PA.
How was that?
It was awesome. The golf business ever since I was like 11 years old, growing up in it, and then we got into the Ventrac side.
Sweet. Okay, so on the apparel side, today Craig is wearing the gray and maroon quarter zip Raider jacket.
I think we say rocking it out, don't we?
Rocking it out.
There you go.
I like that. Okay. This item is available for pre-order on our Ventrac Gear site right now. The special pricing that we have for this and all the other pre-orders is 20% off. So check it out. And it's located on the site. There's not like a special code for the pre-order stuff. That's just how it is. You go on there and it's already marked 20% off.
Super comfortable. Can I put that in there?
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
awesome.
Anything else you want to say about it? How
It's
hot
awesome.
is it right now?
It's a perfect, like, I'd say late summer, early fall, I'd say.
Okay.
It's
All right.
super light. I could definitely play 18 holes in this.
Okay. Good.
Mhm.
Good to know.
But not in the spring.
The spring? Well, I mean, maybe early spring.
Okay.
You know,
Northeast. In the northeast.
Northeast, it gets a little chilly. I'd probably go maybe with my Carhartt over here. Rock that out.
Talk about that soon.
Andy's sweating over there. We'll get to him next. It's pretty warm in here. We don't have air conditioning in the lab. We'll talk to him in a second. Craig is also wearing the 4520 block script hat. And this does require a special code if you want to get the deal on this. So that code is July Special, all one word. And that hat is 50% off using that code, but only for this weekend. There's 3 styles of hats. We've got Andy and Aaron in one as well. You can see those when they come up. Anything to say about the hat? It's a hat. Right?
Nice hat.
It's a hat. Keeps sun out of your eyes. Okay, and we do have 2 final parting questions for Craig. So first one, being our northernmost domestic TSM, what's the biggest hurdle you see for people working in snow and ice management?
Oh, I actually would say ice is number one thing. The contractors they know what to do with snow. That's the easy part. The transitional period, 95 corridor. Ice is the biggest thing, most dangerous and most unpredictable.
So any creative approaches to
Oh, yeah.
trying to solve it?
I mean, brine, that's coming on really strong. That's creative. There's some guys doing some different windshield washer fluids to keep it off of a windshield and stuff.
Okay.
The windscreen was huge for them.
Okay.
On
the
But
SSV?
yeah, brine on the SSV is huge.
Cool. All right, question 2. What's something that you could sell that no other Ventrac TSM could?
Wow. I mean, everything. But I would say...
Let's get specific.
Well, I mean, snow equipment being up there. Let's see. Real mowers. Westchester, New York is part of my territory for the Northeast. High, very steep slopes at green surrounds.
Okay.
We can move a bunch of real mowers.
What about non-Ventrac items?
Oh,
Come up with something. I want to hear, what could Craig sell?
man, you're putting me on the spot
Anything.
here.
Anything in the world.
Oh,
Let's do it.
no better than anybody?
Yeah.
I don't know. Try to keeping my kids from jumping off the roof. I don't know. My kids are terrorists.
Craig is a better father than all of the rest of our TSMs. let the record show.
Keeping them alive, I guess, is what I would say.
Okay. All right. We'll take it. And I think that's it. On your way back to your seat, if you will, for me, do a quick spin.
You want me to spin?
Show everybody what the quarter zip Raider jacket is all about.
Maroon. Spin it.
There we go.
Super
Beautiful.
light. Very nice. It's all good. Get your cup. Don't forget.
Don't forget the mug.
Okay, sit there. Good job.
Okay, next section. So hopefully you enjoyed that bit with Craig. Thank you, Craig, for that. We've got a couple questions coming in from the live feed and then some more questions that were pre-recorded from social before. Also, I want to mention, too, it seemed like we had a couple people lagging on getting onto the feed because we had a bit of a video listing issue at the beginning. So if you missed the first few minutes of this, you can just rewind the video. You can pause it, go back, rewind, and see the first part. And then we're also going to upload later. So if you want to go back and see that first little bit that you missed, you can do that. Just scroll back to the beginning. Okay, so first live question of the day. Can you clarify the difference between the canopy work light kit and the work light LED kit? That would be basically exactly as it sounds. So the work light LED kit would be for no canopy system so that you have the ability to just attach it to the ROPS, comes with everything you need for tractor only. Canopy work lights are exactly what they sound like. So they're using the canopy structure to actually mount to. So it's kind of like you have to have the canopy to make use of those. Okay? And I think that's the only one there. So, okay, we'll go to pre-record questions now. First one, is there any way to keep the 4500 cooler? My radiator gets plugged up quickly, causing temps to rise. Unfortunately, no. The guidance there is what we've always said. You have to clean the radiator screen frequently. When you're in those harsh conditions and you're doing stuff that has like a lot of weed seeds or a lot of dandelions or something, and you're pulling a lot into that radiator, really the only thing that you can do is stop and clean that radiator screen out. That's why the screen is there. We have heard a lot of requests for like, hey, could I get a reversing fan? Is there something you could do to automatically change that? We've explored options. There's a lot of discussion about how we might go about that in the future. It is difficult because of the packaging constraints. And unfortunately, it's one of the downsides of having equipment that's laid out like ours. So we really, really believe in the attachments being up front because that's the right way to do things, especially when you're talking about a mowing attachment. But because of that, that is a small downside. A lot of the debris and chaff that you're kicking up is coming back to the engine. It's not so much of an issue on a tractor where you're pulling the deck behind you, but we're willing to give that little thing up because the performance advantage is so great. So there's really no hack here, unfortunately. I wish there was some easy thing I could tell you that this will do it right away, other than just stay on it and keep your radiator clean as much as you can. Pull that screen out and blow it out. Will the price of new tractors ever come back down? This is a bummer. So there's probably nothing we hate more than prices rising. We don't want to do that. It's never comfortable for us. But it's the nature of the beast. It's the reality of the world we live in right now. So everything costs more, and because of that, tractors are costing more. So that's a real thing. I don't think I would wait and hold your breath for prices to come back down. You know, I'm not a macroeconomist, so you have to excuse my level of ignorance here. But really, you're looking at things like commodities that fluctuate. So natural gas, lumber, maybe the price of steel, things like that do go up and down, and you're probably going to see some of those things come down a little bit in the future. But that's going to be more than offset by the increased labor that goes into these machines, all of the other components that go into it that have not seen price decreases or will not see price decreases. So unfortunately, I don't think I would count on that. Your best bet probably at this point, if you're looking to buy a tractor in the future, is to buy it as soon in the future as you can to try and avoid as much of that price increase as possible. Next question, what does inventory look like at Ventrac dealers across the U.S.? Should we be planning out months in advance for future tractor and attachment purchases? Or is inventory readily available when we are ready to make a purchase? You may get lucky right now and call a dealer looking for a specific attachment or tractor and find exactly what you're looking for real time, but that's rare at this point. What we're seeing more than ever, and in pretty much every part of the country and the world, is that inventory is lagging. So there's not a lot sitting in the field. There is some stuff that's not accounted for, but for the most part, it's flowing from the factory to the dealer straight to the customer. So if you want something, I would encourage at this point, if it's going to be any time in the next year or two, get on the board with your dealer. Talk to your dealer about availability, where they're at with things, and see if you can get your name on the list, because that's going to be the best and the cleanest way to get a tractor. Unfortunately, high demand and limited supply on a lot of componentry has caused this, and it's not something that we see easing yet. If that changes, maybe we'll give some updates. It'd be nice if I could come back and tell you that, hey guys, things are starting to sort back out, and you can just readily go get any attachment that you want. But right now, we're not quite there yet, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I heard some buzzing, so I'm going to check this real quick, make sure we don't have any new questions. Okay, I think we are good. We'll go to the next thing. So we got another TSM conversation coming up, this time with Andy Barone. But before we go there, let's hear in the chat, you guys can let us know, if you already have a Ventrac, what attachments would you like to add to your fleet that you don't have yet? Or if it's a tractor or anything, what do you want? So what's on your wish list? What's on your Ventrac wish list? Let us know in the chat. And we're going to skip to the next TSM conversation.
Next up, Andy Barone. Welcome, Andy. Good to see you as always.
Thank you.
So Andy is from our Virginia, Carolinas, and Tennessee territory. So right smack in the middle of the East Coast.
That's correct.
Says here you've been with Ventrac for 7 years. Me too. Good on you.
You took my job.
Hey, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
He has owned a Ventrac since 2009. His introduction to Ventrac came long before his time as a TSM. He actually owned a landscaping business in Connecticut from 99 to 2011. I worked at a local Ventrac dealership in Virginia for 3 years, ending in 2015. And he's been married for 7 years, and you have 3 kids.
That's correct.
Anything else we need to know about you?
I did work for a golf course, not like Craig, but I worked for a golf course for a year in Connecticut, and kind of got into that side of the turf and understanding that type of equipment need for that side of things.
What's more fun, working on the golf course or working as a contractor?
Definitely as a contractor. Yeah, the golf courses.
Your jobs and stuff.
Golf courses are early mornings and late afternoons, nights, hot all day.
Yeah.
Don't make your own schedule. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely working for yourself.
I did that briefly. Way back. All I did was mow greens and rake bunkers and stuff.
Bunkers are the worst.
And 3:30 in Ohio is cold, even in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
I'm not really into the cold.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, if
okay.
you're not into the cold,
No,
middle of summer.
Today,
Yeah.
Andy is looking for some cold because you're all get up for winter time with our Trek canvas vest, and you have a Ventrac hoodie on underneath that. So we're gonna try and drag this out as long as possible.
Yes.
Make you as uncomfortable as you could be. No. So this item also available for pre-order. Again, 20% off. No code needed. He's wearing our badge logo hat as well. I actually really like that one. It's similar. Actually, the same logo is on your cup.
Yep.
And again, that one is July special, all one word, to get that 50% off. So your 2 questions, Andy. Number 1, what does the future look like for Ventrac in your territory? And I want to know specifically because I think you have potentially one of the best geographic territories. Just terrain, seasons, everything. It seems like those states in that area are primed for Ventrac. What do you think?
Yeah, so taking over the Mid-Atlantic, South Mid-Atlantic, I think Virginia's been established for a few years, which has been nice. But North, South Carolina, and Tennessee, we haven't scratched the surface yet on what we can sell into that territory. So the
You
mountains,
hear that, Mark?
yeah, we got some tractors behind us. But
Yeah.
Tennessee especially, I think, is primed for a really good sales, especially we don't have much dealership presence other than one particular dealer there now. So getting that area up and running is going to be exciting to see the potential for growth in
Drove
Tennessee.
through Tennessee, south to north, 4 days ago.
Okay.
And all I could see was hillsides full of kudzu and all kinds of weird stuff
Oh,
that needs cut down.
There's a ton of potential there.
Yeah, cool. Okay, question number 2. How would you sell what Craig claimed you couldn't sell better than him?
My kids, easily. What did you claim?
Well, you can start out with the real mower because
The real mower?
that was the official answer.
So the real mower is a more challenging sale, especially if you're not up to par with how that thing operates. The real mower. So green surrounds, T boxes. I think out of all the TSMs, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I've sold more than any of them, including Craig and Bill combined. And we can go back and look at registrations, which I know we won't, but I'm going to put that claim out there. But to sell the real mower, I don't know. I'm better looking than Craig, taller, more hair. Yeah. Better outfit, sweatier. I don't know.
That works in golf, huh?
It does. Yeah.
All right.
The terrain, really. I mean, there is some terrain up in the Northeast, but in my territory, I believe between the Carolinas, Virginia, and Tennessee, there's more golf courses with more difficult terrain that could require that particular attachment than up in the Northeast.
That's fair. Okay. Before you go, any last parting words?
Somebody in the marketing team hates me, and that's why now I'm wearing the hottest outfit in the middle of summer.
Don't worry, you only got another 20 or 30 minutes while
you.
we interview Bill and Aaron.
Sweet.
So don't take too long, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, stand up one more time. Give us a quick show of the Trek Canvas vest and the Ventrac hoodie. Oh, yeah.
Oh, make it stop.
Yep.
Oh, make it stop.
So easy a caveman could do it.
Back to some new live questions. All right, I've got 3 here waiting. The first one is Ventrac working on a larger capacity alternator for the 4520P to allow cab accessories to function at the same time? Great question. So yes, the alternator is about half the output on the Kawasaki engine as it is on the 2 Kubota engines. And so for that reason, you can struggle to run all of the accessories if you get a bunch of different things stacked together with a heated cab. We are not currently exploring opportunities there. That's one of those things where since we get the engine from the engine supplier, anything that's directly bolted to it and supplied by them needs to be from them. Otherwise, you start getting into weird like warranty issues of, hey, you're modifying it before you're even selling that thing. So it is the only alternator option that we have available to us. So it is just, at this point, a limitation that we have. We have looked into, is it possible to add an additional alternating circuit or something like that? At this point, we're not moving on anything. But if that becomes a much bigger need, the Kawasaki is a solid, distant third place in terms of engine popularity for us. And so if it gets to the point where it starts to climb in popularity and we need to address that for more of our contractors who are using it in the winter, then we'll see what we can do. But right now, nothing coming at the moment. Next one, what new items are you working on that you can share? We knew we were going to get it. We don't want to get caught buying an older piece when a newer piece is just around the corner. Well, good news and bad news. The bad news first, I can't tell you before we're going to actually tell you. I think you know that. So next time we go live, be sure to be watching. But the good news is, and it's also kind of bad news laced as good news. The way the inventory is right now, you're not really going to get stuck buying something old that gets replaced with something brand new because there's not a lot of stuff out there. So if there's something that you want, if there's a new version coming of it, in all likelihood, if you placed an order now and you're going to be waiting for a few months, if a new version of it is coming pretty soon, you're going to end up on the new version anyway. So there is that small bit of hope in all of the glim darkness of the fact that there's no equipment out there right now. Break time's over, so get back to work. All right, any plans to bring back the generator, post hole, and tree augers? At this point, I'm pretty sure we're not going to do anything with the generator. Next question. Okay, so the other two, again, I can't say things officially, but we have looked into those with a little bit more intensity lately. I can just say that tree auger and post hole digger are something that have been requested an awful lot lately. There's a lot of demand for those, and typically we like to listen to demand. So look to the future. All right, now on to some application questions. So first one, I have a few pieces of deformed metal from oopsies in the field, don't we all? Well, obviously not something Ventrac probably condones. Are there some best practices for folks who are wanting to take a hammer to try and straighten their machines back up? Yeah, the first one is don't take a hammer to your machine. You could, I guess, but that would be bad. Look, this happens. It's one of the things that happens because of the fact that we stick to all metal construction. We love all metal construction. But when you bash into something, it's not plastic, so it doesn't crumble underneath, but it is metal, so it can bend. Oftentimes you'll see that on like fenders or something if you're tough cutting an area where like a big log jams up and rips it back. You can bend them back. Obviously, parts are replaceable, and we try to make sure that parts that could be bent easily in rough environments are more replaceable by not like accessing further into the machine. But the best thing that I've found personally is just take a cautious approach to it. So maybe get like a large crescent wrench or something and bend it slowly back into position. Don't try and hit it, and definitely don't try and like take a hammer to it. That would be machine abuse, I'll call it. So yeah, it's one of those things, just kind of push things back to place if you can, and if it's too far mangled, we offer replacement parts for that reason. Next question, is there any downside from having the weight transfer on maximum all the time? Yes, but that's an awesome question, because logically you could assume, hey, weight transfer is good, right? So some is good, more is better. If more is better, then it's better to always be on. Not entirely. So there are a few attachments where it doesn't quite work that way. First of all, the first one I can think of is a sod cutter. A sod cutter, you want weight transfer off, because weight transfer, the sod cutter is very light, and weight transfer actually has the ability to overwhelm the weight of the sod cutter and lift it all the way off the ground. So if you get a sod cutter in the ground and you've got weight transfer either on or partially on or all the way on, it'll get down into the ground and then it'll want to peel itself back up, and so you'll get waves in your sod layer, where if you have no weight transfer at all, it'll dip underneath and it'll cut a consistent pattern horizontally along the ground. That's one example. Anything that you need to be raising and lowering consistently, like a bucket with material in it, is another example. If you're lifting a lot of rocks and you always want to lift as much as possible, weight transfer all the way on makes sense because you can actually lift more with max weight transfer. But if you're doing mulch and you want to spread layers of it or something, then if you actually knock the bucket into float with the mulch in the bucket, it can be still too light to overcome weight transfer, so it doesn't actually come down as far to the ground as you think it might. So scooping up or layering it out next to the ground can be a little more difficult. Also, like a mower deck, you would want to take weight transfer off a little bit if you want to improve your traction or if you want to improve your turning ability, and then weight transfer all the way on if you want to lay the deepest stripe possible. So there are times where you definitely want to play with weight transfer depending on how you're engaging with the ground. The other thing about weight transfer, and we'll get to this because somebody else asked the question, I know this because it's on one of the preview sheets, about hooking up to attachments. So I'll double cover this, but I'll just briefly say it now. Having weight transfer on while you hook into attachments and unhook makes it harder. And I'll get more into that later, but that's where you definitely want to have it off as well. Last question on this section. People have mentioned that they are going through belts faster than expected. What are some pro tips that you can provide to extend belt life and just proper operation in general? Another awesome question. So we do see this. Obviously, we've chosen a belt design because it makes the most sense for us. But you can decrease the life of your belts if you do the wrong things. So the first thing, and absolute most important, above all, everyone says this, and usually it's mostly true. In this case, it is 100%, without a doubt, unarguable. It absolutely, every time, makes a difference. OEM belts. So stick to OEM belts. Yes, there are belts from Napa or AutoZone or anywhere else that are the same size as our belts, and that's the only thing they share in common. Every one of our belts that drives an attachment is a custom spec belt that is much stronger, much more durable than what you'd find at a general auto parts store or a lot of online sources. So stick to OEM parts for your belts, definitely. It makes a huge difference. I've seen brand new auto parts belts shred in 10 minutes worth of use, just regular light use, just because they're weak and they stretch and they fray. Our belts are much stronger. So stick to OEM belts, first of all. And then the second thing that I would say is it comes down a lot to operation. So the more you operate, the more you get a feel for what the limits are of the machine. The machine does have the ability to overpower a belt if you get into a situation like, let's say, for a tough cut. It's a very popular attachment if you're using it in really dense brush, where you overload the deck. The deck has too much material in it and it's not dropping the material back out. So it's working a lot. It's having to stress that deck a lot to keep going. And you have the ability to put enough power into that belt to be working the belt harder than the deck can keep up. And that's where you get into problems. So your belt and your deck, or whatever attachment it is, have to work in conjunction with each other and stay on the same page so that you're not overworking the belt. And if you do that, then you can get the belt really hot. You can start to wear it out a lot faster. And it's something that you can totally take a belt out in a day of tough cutting where it normally would have lasted you months or longer if you're doing that. So the tip there is just know when to slow down and back out of it. If the material gets too thick, if there's too much water or moisture content in the material or something, and you start to notice that the deck or whatever attachment is really struggling to keep up, don't just push it harder with the machine if there's available horsepower, because that could be taking your belt to a lower lifespan. Great question, though, because that's something that comes up a lot. What I have noticed, and I'm not trying to position it this way because it's an easy cop-out answer, but what I have noticed is operators that have a lot of time on the machines generally ask fewer questions about getting their belts to last longer, because, yeah, there's situations where they still burn them up, but for the most part, they understand how to finesse that machine just perfectly so that they can get the absolute maximum out of that wear part. Because it is a wear part, and it has a lifespan, but you can get a lot longer time if you treat it properly. Okay. Looks like I have at least a live question or two. I'm going in blind here. All right. Where do we buy these belts? Great question. I tried finding one for the finish mower about 2 months ago and didn't see where to order. So belts are available through our certified Ventrac dealers, and if they don't have them in stock, which I'm hoping that they do have at least a couple of every size belt that you need, give them a call. If they don't have them in stock, they do have the ability to drop ship parts from us, so they can order the belts that you need, and they can ship straight from us to you, and that's a really quick process, all things considered. So the guidance that I would give there is be prepared ahead of time, because if you have a couple on the shelf or if you have spares for whatever attachments you're running, then you'll never get caught needing a belt right now, and that's really the worst case scenario, because then you're going to be forced to use those OEM kind of like auto parts belts that are just subpar. So talk to your dealer, call your dealer parts department. They'll either have them on hand, you can just go pick them up, or they can drop ship from us and you can get them that way. Looks like that is the last one right now for live. So we're going to go to another in the chat let us know question. Back to belts again. We're going to harp on this for one more time. So if you are running a Ventrac setup, let us know. How many belts are you keeping on hand? We're kind of curious because we got some other belt reference questions too for this Q&A, and we're kind of wondering, like, I wonder what the common wisdom is out there amongst our operators. That's something we don't really know for sure. What are our full-time guys who are running Ventrac for everything keeping on hand? That way we can maybe make some suggestions to those who are just getting into it and need to kind of get their setup right. What belts are you keeping on hand? And I guess we could probably extend that too to what other maintenance parts do you keep? What pins, what spare bolts, things that you notice that you want to have always with you. So answer that in the comments for us. And we're going to go to the third TSM conversation with Bill Corcoran.
Next up is Bill Corcoran. Welcome, Bill. Thank you. Dressed a little more appropriately for the weather indoors in the summertime.
Still a little warm.
Still a little warm.
A little bit.
I hear you. I'm right there with you. Okay, so Bill is from our Mid-Atlantic territory too, but kind of the northern part of that. So Pennsylvania, parts of it, New Jersey, Maryland, Northern Virginia, New York City, up into that area. Pretty cool area up in there too, with a lot of business. So Bill's been with Ventrac for 4 years, lives in Philadelphia with his wife and 3 kids. This is his 30th year selling turf equipment.
I'm old.
That would make me 2 when you started.
1992.
That's pretty
Way
good.
to put it in perspective there.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
Makes me feel really old. That's good.
or maybe I'm just really young, all right?
That's another way to look at it.
All right. Before joining Ventrac, Bill was a sales manager at one of our top Ventrac dealers in the U.S. Spent 23 years in Toro distribution prior to that. So you got a long time in the turf industry.
Yeah.
You know your way around.
Who was your sales rep?
I was just going to say, I'm amazed it took that long. Do you know who my TSM was?
Who was your TSM when you were in Ventrac distribution?
I had this guy, I had to drag him along and really try to get him to work with us. I think his name was Andy something. He wasn't really that involved.
I heard that his good looks sell the machines for you, though.
I don't know. Not really.
Okay.
He was okay.
Maybe that's
but
just hearsay.
yeah, it was more our sales group than that guy.
Okay. All right. So today, Bill is wearing the black Trailblazer vest. What kind of material is this? It's like I don't know, neoprene or something. It looks like it's a little bit waterproof. If you got
I
a
would
little
say
spray
water
on you or
resistant.
something. Yeah, your arms are still going to get wet. But anyway, black Trailblazer vest, 20% off pre-order. Get it in the Ventrac Gear store. 2 questions for you. what's the most compelling story in the golf world that you've seen in the past, let's call it 2 years because of pandemic stuff? Any trends that are happening, any weird observations that you've had in your travels?
Not weird, just like a revitalization that because of the lockdown and everybody having money, you've seen golf courses that for years, especially like the mom and pop owned golf courses, finally have money to reinvest. And you've seen just the growth with everybody trying to make their golf course better. It's pretty cool to see because a lot of people struggle for years not being able to put money back into the property.
Good. So the industry feels healthy right now.
Yeah.
Good. Number 2. We're told, according to Bill, Craig has a lot of different personalities. And we want to know, what's your favorite and your least favorite Craig personality?
I hate Demo Craig.
You hate Demo Craig?
I hate Demo Craig.
No, why? Demo Craig sells tractors.
I don't know whether he sells tractors or whether he just screams demo, 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 and he gets all excited and he's screaming and yelling in the truck.
How could you not be excited to go on a demo with a Ventrac?
See, that's what I'm saying.
I think it's exciting, but
Gotcha.
I think it's a little over
Over the top?
kind of over, just a little, because considering both our inside sales rep Carrie and I can't speak to him when he turns into Demo Craig, because when you pick up the phone, all you hear is
Demo, demo, demo!
yeah.
I'd like to have Demo Craig as a regular guest. Okay, so what's the best Craig personality?
Jack.
Who's Jack?
Have you ever seen The Incredibles?
Oh, yes. The one with the fire coming out of his head?
Yes. That is my favorite. And I like to help Jack come along and get him upset, and then he's got to fix something. Or I enjoy Jack.
That's the Northeast, isn't it?
That's
Okay.
his Northeast.
All right.
Jack is one of my
Demo
favorites.
Craig.
Jack Craig. No, I'm not sure which one I prefer. All right, Jack Craig. Cool. Okay. Any last parting words?
No, just very excited to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for being with us.
Always.
Stand up. Show him your stuff. There it is.
Plus size model. It fits.
The black Trailblazer vest from Ventrac.
More live questions. Here we go. All right, so we got a few more in that last segment. First one, are any new toys coming in the near future, like the little metal toy now? Yes, so in that break, we went and got something here. Hopefully you can see this, and it kind of shows you what it's all about. We are working on a new 4520 CT. This is pretty similar to the old one, just updated for aesthetics and so that it looks like the current tractor. This one comes standard with a bucket instead of a blade. Pretty awesome, articulates, you can open it up, it's kind of interactive. This is a great kid's toy. I don't know, I like it, so maybe I'm a kid, but they're pretty sweet for anybody, I guess. This is coming. We're not really working on any other attachments for them yet, but if that's something that everybody demands, maybe we'll put some effort to it. So if you want more CT stuff, I guess shout it out. Okay, question number 2. What is the recommended operating RPMs? Is it dependent on each attachment? Yes, absolutely. So if you check out operator manuals for every attachment, it'll show you the different RPM ranges that are optimal. But full disclosure, most of them, especially the attachments that are like ground engaging or debris engaging, are just full RPM. So stump grinder, I don't know if I've ever run it at anything less, unless it's like a tiny stump that I'm just trying to keep the noise down or something. Mower decks, usually full RPM unless it's like really dry grass and I can just afford to back it off a little bit and save fuel. It's a little bit operator feel. If you're getting the job done without being full RPM, like if you're just shuttling material with the bucket or something, and you don't necessarily want to drive the full speed anyway, and then you can knock those RPMs back just because you're burning less fuel that way. So you can get operator preference involved and run lower RPMs if you need to, but there are recommendations in the manuals for RPMs. Number 3, are you guys going to start thinking about creating a bigger tractor horsepower-wise? No, because we've already thought about that for a very long time, and we definitely want to explore those ideas. I can't say that we're necessarily working on it now or that we're going to. I can't commit to anything, but we know that that's a big request. We know that a lot of people want to see a slightly bigger machine or a much bigger machine. So in the future, we'll be playing out those models, doing some R&D, looking at what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. What I would employ you guys to do, if you're out there and you're also asking this same question, is be vocal. because even though it seems like sometimes it takes a long time, like, hey, is Ventrac really listening? We keep asking for these things or whatever. We are listening, and the more that we hear something, the more capability we have to push through and try and get those things to market. So if that's something that you guys see valuable, be sure to tell us. Be sure to show us examples of places that you would use it, and be interactive. We love to hear it, and yeah, that's about what I have to say there. And last live question from Kurt I believe this is my brother-in-law Kurt in Germany, which is pretty cool. So he's over there serving our fine country. So thanks for Kurt over there helping us out. He's got a question about what is our best-selling piece of equipment, and that would be the Tough Cut. That's by far and away our most popular attachment. We sell gobs of those every year because they just work awesome and people love them. So good to see you, Kurt. Thanks for coming. Also another one just came in. Have you sold any Ventracs outside of the U.S.? Yeah, tons of them. Lots of different countries. If you go on our website, you can see our distributor list of different countries that we sell into, and you can see all the places that we have distributors. They're working in all kinds of cool places all around the world, so it's not just the U.S. that sees the value of Ventrac. Okay, I'm going to skip to some pre-roll questions. Number one, is there a reason other than belts why the Tough Cut doesn't have foldable tight blades instead of normal mowing blades? There's probably a few reasons, but I would say mostly it's because what's on there now is most appropriately matched to the machine that it is. It's not, the same durability as like a deck that you'd mount on a bulldozer or something. So it does have its limits. We do cap the capacity of what that deck can handle as far as woody material and things. And really, what we've noticed now is the benefit of swinging blades doesn't come in until, like, the true benefit of getting those blades swinging doesn't come in until well beyond where we want to push that deck. So if you ever do see a swinging blade setup from a Ventrac, it would probably be on a totally different style deck that's built a little bit heavier, probably would have to be narrower to be able to work through some heavier applications or something. So it's not out of the question entirely, but it would have to be a different attachment because that one's not sized appropriately otherwise to deal with heavier duty blades. Next, flat-faced hydraulic couplers. They have almost no fluid loss, the ability to connect under pressure, maintain cleaner couplers, release line pressure. So I think the question here is, will we or can we go to those? We debated this, and so actually there's nothing stopping you from doing this to your machine. Those do exist in the sizes that we would need. We do have flat-faced couplers on the SSV, not the 4520, and you might wonder why. It's kind of a curious thing. The reason there is because of the main hurdle for doing it on the 4520. The SSV was a brand new product for us. It had never existed before in the marketplace. None of the attachments were out there in the field, and for that reason we could reimagine what those connectors looked like, and we decided to go with what we thought made the most sense, which is exactly that, flat-faced couplers. They are a fair bit more expensive, and that's not a huge issue because you're paying for the machine that you want. You're willing to pay the extra money probably for something that's nice like that. But the biggest thing is on the 4520 and looking back, 4500 and back further in history, is that there are so many attachments out in the field that would then be incompatible with the tractors without swapping those connectors. So if the tractors came standard with flat-faced couplers, you'd have to either take those couplers off and put cheaper, less nice couplers on the machine to run all of your old attachments or any old attachments that you find in the field, or you'd have to start with that machine and only buy new attachments. And that'd be okay for some people because they're just new to Ventrac and that's no problem at all. But for a lot of people, they're buying a tractor that's going into an existing fleet, and it was just a hurdle that we couldn't quite cross over on this machine. So will we ever do it? It's still up for debate, but I would encourage that if that's something you really value, go ahead and do it. It's totally possible. Those are out there in the world. You can take all of your individual attachments and buy the correct end flat-face couplers and then just transfer your tractor over and you should be good to go. So if you do that, send me an email. I'd like to see it, see how it works, see how it improves you living with the tractor. Does it really truly eliminate connect under pressure issues for you? Because there are two different versions. There's flat-face standard and then there's flat-face connect under pressure. I'd be curious. So if you do it, hit me up. Let me know how it goes. I think we have another live as well. Oh boy, we have a bunch more lives. would it be possible to get the new hydraulic pump that comes with a 4520 to upgrade my 4500P? I think that may be in one of my other pre-recorded questions, but we'll just answer it now because it came through. No. There's a lot of internal changes, just how they mount, where they integrate. The hose routing is totally different. Okay, let me walk that back. I can't say no because anything's possible mechanically. Obviously, everybody knows you could get it to work. But I think realistically, no, and we can't support it. So if you did it, you'd be on your own, and it would be a massive amount of custom work to get it done, probably a lot of cutting and welding. So I think it's one of those things that's unfortunately just never going to happen realistically. So going to have to upgrade to a 4520 or live with what you got. Are there any plans for something like a forestry mulcher? Not at the moment, but we have explored the idea of what that would look like. Typically, a forestry mulcher would be considered something that is just totally out of place on this machine because we don't quite have the power to run it, and we also don't have the, we're an open operator station, and since we don't have a summertime cab with a full structure on the front and back, forestry mulching, you get into like real forestry mulching, you get into falling limbs, and you need operator protection that's more than just a ROPS bar. So that's probably our limitation there. We've talked about how far we could push that line to forestry mulching before we got there. We tough cut now, and that's mostly grass and brush and some light woody material. Could we make that bridge halfway there? Maybe, I don't know yet. That's we're not really answering that question yet. But full-on forestry mulcher, I think that's probably out on a machine like the Ventrac. It's just a little bit too light for that kind of work. Have you guys ever considered triple tires? Yes, triples, quads. I don't know what it would be called if you had 5 or 6. We've considered like how far could you go, and 2 is the limit because strength concerns with the axles. So the difference between 2 wheels and 3 wheels is astronomically higher in terms of how much stress it puts onto the axles of the machine. If you put a 3rd wheel on the outside, not only would it have a very hard time turning because that 3rd wheel would hit almost instantly, you would almost certainly destroy your axles in your inside of your transaxles, so it's a no-go. At one point, one of our engineers actually did the calculations to see how many tires we could stack, because theoretically, yes, you could just keep adding dual hardware. He did the calculations to figure out how many tires we could stack to make the tractor fully buoyant and just drive it onto a pond and have it float there. And I think it was only 4 tires per corner. Don't quote me on that, and please don't try it. But I think it was only 4 tires per corner that the tractor would literally just float on water. So no more than 2 tires, sorry. And then the last one, it looks like, why does your contour mower leave skip lines? I'm not quite sure what you're asking there, but I'm going to guess just like skippers of grass between the blades or something. It shouldn't be. So if that's happening, let's get you to contact your dealer or our customer service line. We'll try and get you pointed in the right direction, maybe diagnose if you've got a bent spindle or something. You shouldn't be seeing that. So good question, but we're always here for those if something is happening that seems odd to you. Okay, I think that's it for now. We're going to go to our 4th and final TSM conversation with Aaron Gerber. And before we go, in the chat, let us know. We're doing some more rapid fire questions. So we're going to go back to the live stuff after this conversation, and we're going to try and just knock out as many as we can. So bring them on, as many as you can ask. Also, ask some non-Ventrac related questions. Ventrac is fun. We love talking about Ventrac, but also if you want to know anything about our team or about our facility or whatever, anything you want to ask me. I might be able to answer it. So when we come back, we'll start with that too.
Okay, last, certainly not least, Aaron Gerber.
Well, we always save the best for last.
We certainly saved someone for last. Okay, so this is Aaron Gerber. I am Aaron Graber. Let's clear this up once and for all. Do not email me about how to get a demo in Ohio. Right?
You can. I mean, eventually
I'm going to forward it to you. Anyway, whatever. So Aaron Gerber, I'm Aaron Graber. We're 2 different people, but Aaron is our Ohio and surrounding territories rep. So that includes Michigan, Kentucky, a little bit of West Virginia, kind of around. So Ohio is obviously pretty big for us. So a lot of that business is concentrated there, but working on growing Kentucky, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So Aaron's been with us for 4 years. He is Ventrac's most effective, most athletic, best looking and most eligible territory sales manager.
I couldn't have wrote that any better myself, Aaron.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I think you might have. Okay, so Aaron is wearing our gray and white quarter zip Raider jacket. That's a mouthful. I messed it up earlier, but I got it this time.
Pretty sharp.
I like it. It's kind of light, right? It's not like super heavy. Yeah, you could probably wear it most seasons. So, again, same story. 20% off pre-order. Go to the gear store. Oh, sorry. I just got to. We're gonna have to cut that out.
What
Front of
do
your
I do
face.
with my hands? What do I do with my hands?
What to do with my hands.
Take it back! Put the microphone on.
Aaron.
Is Jack coming out? All right. I got it now.
Back to it. Aaron is also wearing our 4520 shield hat. So it's got the front of the tractor, got the gray, give us a little nod. You can't see his hair. What hair?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Give the hats
Had
to
to
the
do
bald
it.
guys.
Another deal on the hat, 50% off this one just as well. And we have 2 questions for you.
Oh, I'm looking forward to
So
it.
as someone who grew up in the area, because
Yeah.
you're from here, right?
I sure am.
You're pretty local to Ventrac.
Uh-huh.
How have you seen Ventrac change over time in our area?
Well, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of product changes, but I think the biggest thing is just the growth overall. If we could populate the rest of the country like Wayne County, we'd probably have like...
I did the math on that one time, and
Yeah.
it's obviously terrible back of the napkin math, but I was like in the mid billions, like mid single digit billions, like instantly.
So basically what we're trying to say here is these guys need to get going in the rest of the world.
That's what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Aaron's saying it right here.
Territory also.
Question number 2, now that we've covered that.
All right.
What are your top 3 tips for spotting and avoiding traffic cameras in small towns?
Listen,
Listen.
sometimes those things can be tricky,
Uh-huh.
but I have found that if you...
We need 3 tips.
3 tips.
3.
Number 1, well, actually, it's only happened twice. So, 1, when you're going down freeways, you just never know where they're at. I mean, I'm going to say look for the flash, when
It's
it's
too
dark
late at
out.
that point, though, right? Do you smile on your way through?
yeah, but then you can at least prep everybody back at the factory.
It's about to happen.
So,
Okay,
so
you
there's
send
tip
an email to
number
your
1.
manager. All right.
Tip number 2.
Drive the speed limit.
These are my tips, not yours.
Just trying to help.
Avoid running red lights.
Avoid running red lights. Okay, so like the
yeah.
yellow means slow down.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean sometimes you might even think they're yellow, but avoid that.
Okay.
And third, I guess we could go with Andy's tip to maybe slow down a little bit, but
Hey, we got it. All right, slow down out there. Best of luck driving in the future. Any last words?
no, I'd just like to reiterate what you guys wrote for my description and intro. I think you guys pretty much summed it up well.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks for being here. Give us one last spin.
Thank you.
Show us the gray and white quarter zip Raider jacket.
I think that is the favorite. That's the favorite piece. I believe that is a nice
Yeah,
jacket.
it looks sharp. Don't get it dirty.
Yep.
It matches the cup.
Still single.
All right, now we're on to live rapid fire questions. Before I get there, I want to say thanks to the TSMs that participated. That wraps up all 4 that we've got. Thank you guys for being good sports about that and modeling our apparel for us. I'll get to some apparel notes here at the end that you'll want to stick around for, so don't close it out before that. We're on to live rapid fire questions and then pre-recorded rapid fire questions that are behind this sheet. I have not seen them yet, and I have been very strictly instructed, dare I say forcefully instructed, not to look at them prior. So those are coming up too. Here we go with the live ones. What's the one discontinued attachment of y'all's that has the highest amount of requests for it to come back? I think it's probably the tree auger. Yeah, probably the auger system for the loader. Close second, maybe the generator. So, Do you have any plans for Christmas tree decks and adapting the tractor for that use? By that, I think you're probably talking about a narrower tough cut or something like that, something that can go through in those like very narrow tree areas. Not so much that's on the radar, but it's not really one of those things that has probably much of a future at the moment just because of the volume that we would sell there. So sorry to be a bummer, but it's kind of how it is. Will a precision option be available for the power rake drum height adjustment? We've looked at maybe doing like a laser height adjustment or something, or like a laser grade, so you could change the grade, based on lasers or something. That's maybe possible in the future. We haven't really discussed whether we would actually go for that or not. At this point, no, because it's already really precision. So it's an infinite adjustment, technically, because it's an electric actuator. So the adjustment variables that you're making are essentially anywhere that you could possibly want it. And on the level of grade that you're doing with a power rake, it's really not necessary to get any deeper than that. If you want to be exactly perfect, you can be, but it's also probably doing a little bit extra work that doesn't need to be done. Are there any plans to add a different attachment on the end of the MA900, like a ditcher, tree saw, or small brush head to make it more versatile? We've looked at it. The big issue there is weight. So the sickle bar is actually very light given where it sits on the head, because the heaviest part is closest to the machine, and then the further out it gets, it's not adding a lot more weight. If we go to something like a little flail head or something like that, we've actually done a little bit of digging there, and it doesn't look real promising because of the extra weight. We're already pushing the limits of where it feels good to have that arm out and still tractor handles well and everything. And so we don't really want to push that to a place that could cause problems. So probably not on that. And yeah, probably not. Have you thought about no flat tires? Yes, so something like the Michelin Tweel or the Goodyear airless tire, we have tried these. And the problem that we have with them so far, they're great. They don't go flat because they don't have air. They're great in that way, but every other way there's some issues. The hillside stability with them is pretty close to the same, but the fact that they have sort of a sharp edge around them because it's like one single ply, that edge can kind of dig into the terrain when you're at an extreme angle. But the bigger thing is, they have the right size for us now. For a long time, they didn't have the right size. They do have the right size. We've tried them in 4 and 8 configuration, but the hard part is those are all designed to support the weight of a machine that is a little bit lighter than a Ventrac, but only 2 tires. So then actually when you put 4 of them on a Ventrac, the Ventrac isn't quite heavy enough to put those into the exact right operation window. And then when you put 8, it's even worse, so they ride really rough. We hopefully will see more of those options hitting the market in the future that can allow you to maybe have a softer version of them, and maybe that'll push us over the edge. But right now, no plans to offer anything until we start getting a lot more requests for them, because there's enough downsides on our machine that it's not the best to live with. Does the vac system attach onto the Ventrac 4520? Yes. What's the widest type of mower, theoretically, you guys could have created? Well, theoretically, that's not bound by any confines. So as wide as you could fit on your property. But that would obviously not be powered by a Ventrac. I think we're basically at the limit here. With our 95-inch cut that we have on our wide area mower, it does really well. But if you start adding, when you think about doing another spindle, you can't just add 1 inch or 2 inch more. You're reconfiguring the whole deck and then respacing them out. So at a certain point, you add another spindle or another 2 spindles, and then you're taking like steps, like incremental steps. And past what we're doing now, you're going to start to see a lot more grass build up in the deck, and power constrictions being a real issue. So we're kind of at that range, that 90, 100-inch range, where it's like more than that is going to be really tough to maintain the quality of cut that we expect out of a Ventrac and the speed of operation, at least in current trim as the tractor is today. Are there any plans to make a fence post trimmer? No plans now, but I would love to have one. I think that'd be a really cool attachment. I've seen some hacked together ones out there in the field that maybe not necessarily running on a Ventrac or anything. A lot of them are a little bit wonky in how they operate. But if we could sort that out and make them really work well, that would be fantastic to have. I would love to have that attachment. You're not going to see it anytime soon, but if we could solve that problem and make one that actually works, I've seen a lot in the market that are subpar, I would say. If we could make one that was awesome that people loved, I'd be all in. How many pounds can the front hitch arms? How many pounds can the front hitch arms hold? I'm not sure exactly what that means. I guess like how much weight could it lift? I don't know. I've never broken the front hitch arms, so I don't know what the breaking point would be. They'll lift a boom mower that's like 900 pounds, so at least that. How does a Ventrac go about in continuing to remain an industry leader in lawn care innovation? Great question. That's my job. So I go to bed every night with a lot of stress. That's how, because we try to just be as tuned into everything we possibly can. Part of it is you guys. We have awesome fans, awesome operators, awesome contractors, dealers, salespeople, everything that are always feeding stuff back to us. Us doing things like this, I think, helps because we get direct communication. We try to stay as plugged in as possible. We try to give realistic answers. We try to listen to people and give ideas a chance, even if it seems like a crazy idea at first. And that's led to a lot of new product. That's led to a lot of steps forward. We're going to keep trying to do that. And so the throttle is down. We're full speed ahead. We have no intentions of slowing down at all. So that's our plan anyway. Will there ever be a cheaper tractor like the Cub Cadet XT1 but more advanced? I doubt it. A cheaper Ventrac is very difficult to pull off. We've done that thought experiment as well. You know, you look at both directions of your product line and you say, can you do more? Can you do less? A cheaper version just waters things down so much that I don't think we're really interested in that. Cheaper version of this machine gets the wrong message out to people. We don't really want to make something, it can't be cheaper unless it's worse. Let's just say it like it is. If it's worse performing, if it's smaller, if it's lower powered, if it's whatever, it has to be worse in some way to be cheaper. And we don't really have a lot of enthusiasm to make a worse product than what we're at today. So, sorry, but no. Anything new going on at the Ventrac booth at the Equip Expo, or formerly known as GIE this year? Honestly, I'm kind of out of that world right now. So let's do a social post. Everybody listening, we'll try and hit those a little bit sooner maybe than we have last year, and kind of preview what's coming down the pike at GIE. I know we're trying to do creative things all the time, but we'll get back to you on that. I think that's a great question. It'd be cool to see some new stuff in the booth and maybe some new product down there as well. So, hey, that's it for. Someone's typing. I'm going to give it 10 seconds before I go to the next thing. Oh, here it is. Oh, we got more. Lots more. Okay. Or no. Did it disappear? Okay. We're good. All right. No more. So now, on to the questions that I have not seen yet that are on my cards. Rapid fire. Here we go. Can we get a 5 to 6 foot sickle bar mower for cutting hay on slopes? Previously answered that. Probably no. Can you make a bigger fuel tank? Yes, but we'd have nowhere to put it, so also probably no on this machine. We just ordered a 4500 but can't get a diesel. Is that because of the supply chain right now? I'm going to say yes. I don't know that individual situation, but probably that's almost certainly down to supply chain. Yes, engines have been an issue at some points, getting enough engines to build, along with a million other components for us. But yeah, there's no other diesel issues that I'm aware of other than just supply being short. Will Ventrac ever add hydraulic-powered PTO to the back of their lineup of tractors? Doubtful. So you would have to consume the front PTO on a dedicated system. Again, we've done this thought experiment too. You'd have to have a dedicated system, kind of like some of our attachments that have PTO power, where you're going belt to hydraulic drive and then transferring that hydraulic drive back to the back. We haven't seen quite enough uses yet where this would be beneficial if you're losing your front attachment capability. So for that reason, no. That would have to be relegated to. This kind of comes back to the same question as a lot of the can you, will you questions in terms of mechanical design, where this machine is pretty well tapped out on a lot of the packaging things, and that's very much a packaging thing. Since Toro bought you, is anything going to change? Yeah, tons of stuff. But don't take that as a negative thing, because a lot of things are better. But since Toro bought you, I think that's kind of a common question that's come up. What should we expect now that you're owned by Toro? As long as we're all here doing the same things we're doing, I think you should expect a lot of similar activities to the past. So we may have a little bit more free reign to do some more R&D on a few projects. We might do a few more creative product things. But for the most part, we're going to try and keep those changes something that aren't seen by the customers so that you don't have to deal with them. I've been a long time Ventrac guy. I own 3 of them. Thank you for that. Why are parts so hard to get now? Oof, I hate this one. Unfortunately, parts are in the same situation as parts. Parts are just like parts. Parts are in the same situation as the parts that go onto our assembly lines. And so even though parts act differently because they're going to machines that are already out in the field and they're much more urgent in their need to get there, we have the same difficulties getting them from suppliers. And we don't make everything here. We don't mold our own plastics or hoses. We don't make our own belts. We don't mold our own tires or build our own engines. So there's a lot of things that we just don't have full vertical control of, and we have had so many problems getting stuff on time that are out of our control. We are doing our absolute best to change this, to improve this, and anything we can do to help make this better. But at a certain point, there's only so much you can do. So we have been stockpiling things when we have to. We have been keeping more on hand than we normally would, pressuring suppliers as much as possible, finding dual sourcing if we can find the identical component or better quality. But at a certain point, what we're not willing to do is compromise on the part quality or try and charge double necessarily or something for something that is the same thing. So we're trying to thread that needle, and that does result in cases where parts just take longer to get than we are normally used to. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to get back to normal at some point, but we're doing our best. So thanks for sticking with us. We can apologize for that a little bit, I guess, because in a perfect world, we would have the ability to get you everything you need, but it's not a perfect world right now. So we'll do our best, and thanks for being a constant, long-time customer. And the last one, my Ventrac says hour reprogram mode. What does that mean? That means you need to call your dealer and get them to diagnose either through the TCM or on-site with the tractor why your hour gauge is doing that. It could be a couple different things potentially. I'm not sure exactly what it is on your individual machine, but call your dealer, reach out. Whoever asked that question specifically, if you need help sorting through that and your dealer doesn't know either, give us a call here at the factory. Andrew can help you and he can point you in the right direction. We'll get you taken care of. So thanks for that. Okay, I'm getting the notification that I might have a couple more things. Okay, any chance for skid plates to help keep brush from getting into and collecting under the machine? That's a great question. I've seen some homebrew ones out there that are really effective. We have adapted and changed some of our skid plates recently to, some of that came with the new 4520, some of it has happened, throughout the course of time, just evaluating what can change and what can tweak. But we do know that is something that can potentially help in brushy situations, so we're looking at that. We always are. Are 4520s coming to Sweden as a tractor? That's a great question. I don't know that they're not CE certified, but if that's a process that's still happening, then I'll check on if whoever asked that question. If you could send an email to us, mmm@ventrac.com, that's kind of a generic email that some of us in marketing get. Send me that as a follow-up, and I will talk to our engineering department and see where CE certification is at on that product. And the very last question, your call, oh, sorry, I shouldn't read these before I actually read them. Is Ventrac going to expand their factory? I don't know if I'm allowed to answer that. And honestly, it wouldn't matter, I guess, if I was or wasn't, because I don't really know this. We will, I would imagine, do exactly what we've always done. So if we need more space, we'll get more space. I don't know what our plans are there. I don't know whether we do actually need more space. I'm not really a building planner, but I don't know. If you really, really want to know, maybe reach out via email and I can try and point you to the right person. But we'll do exactly what we've always done, I think, and that's try to get as many tractors out to the right people as we can. Okay, so one quick recap. I've got another slide here just to kind of go over the last things. So on the gear side, the collection that we have been displaying in this video with our TSMs and the vest that I was wearing. Actually, let me put that back on. It's getting warm, but got to do it, right? So the collection that we showed today is on the gear store, and the pre-order stuff is 20% off. You do not need a special code for that, by the way. Anything that's pre-order, you can just order it. It'll show you it's 20% off. You'll see that's very clear on the system, but you don't need a special code for that. You do need a special code for the hats. So the hats being 50% off, you need that code to put in. All of those pre-orders are on the site now. They're going to be live. Give me a confirmation, yes, through the weekend as the discount. So the discount applies through the weekend. And that includes the Navy Traveler vest, this guy right here. It's too hot right now, but that's because I'm in the studio, so it's really good if you need to stay warm. The Trek canvas vests, the black Trailblazer vest, and the quarter zip Raider jackets. Also on shipping, so these things, since they are pre-order, it's going to take a little bit of time to get to you. I would expect somewhere in the 4 to 6 week range for them to actually get the orders finalized and then shipped out. It's not a supply side thing as much as it is just logistics of getting all those things dialed in before they actually go out. So you're not going to see these things ship as fast as some other gear that you may have purchased in the past, but they'll get there, rest assured. Anything else in your order will ship in the next 5 to 7 business days, so if there's anything beyond that, we'll ship that separately. The code for the hats is July Special, all one word, July, July Special. There are also a few clearance items in this collection as well, a lot of great Ventrac gear. And as an added incentive, so the last thing I want to say here, the first 5 people after we close this video, so not right now, don't leave yet, the first 5 people after we close the video down to go to the Ventrac Gear store and put in an order, we will give you some extra goodies as well. I don't know all what that means, but usually it's pretty cool stuff. So go to ventracgear.com, get your order in. If you're one of the first 5, you're going to get some extra stuff. That's a pretty cool deal. I'm about to close it out, so get your keyboards ready, pull out the credit cards. I think that's it, unless I hear any other takers. So thanks for being with us today. It was awesome to be here. I love doing these things. If you have any questions about what we covered or things we didn't cover, be sure to drop them in the chat, send us an email, post it on the video when this is on YouTube, and we'll get back to it. We have one more question. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Yeah, you're right. In the chat before you leave, live Q&As like this. So videos like this where we just sort of show up. We don't have necessarily a product to present, but it's just kind of us checking in saying, hey, we're here still. Anything that's on your minds. Do you like them? Do you want to see anything different about them? If you loved this video or loved this time, let us know. If you hated it, let us know too. I don't mind. I've heard it all. And we will see you next time. So thanks for being here. Thanks for everybody involved, TSMs for your time, all the marketing team for production's sake, and we'll catch you next time we go live. Thanks for being here.